Welcome back to the second part of a very long project where over the course of many months I've been working my way through and reviewing 14 Yorkshire novels. So if you're looking for a birthday or a Christmas present, or you just want something new to read, then this is a video for you because I've saved you all the hard work of reading them. Obviously, if you haven't done so already, be sure to check out part 1, and having assumed that you've done so, let's crack straight on. By the way, I am dog sitting today, so if you hear a whine or a bark, they just want to say hello. Bright Day by J.B. Priestley, 1946. Are you alright, love? Come on, settle down. Back with another Priestley book, and I'd say if you're going to read any novel by Priestley, then it's got to be this one. It's a bit of a hidden gem, you probably haven't heard of it before, but it contains some of the best descriptions of people and places that I've ever read, to be honest. Priestley is a wonderfully articulate writer, with breathtakingly brilliant moments of prose at times, a real joy to read. Bright Day is a novel about a middle-aged writer staying at a hotel in Cornwall and reflecting on his time as a youth in Brontës, which, if you watched my review of The Good Companions, you'll know is a fictional town based on Bradford. Priestley wistfully takes the reader back to a time long ago, to a world very different, but also in some ways familiar. And even though the story is quite simple, it has moments of real emotional impact at times. In some ways, it reminded me a little bit of The Ghost of Christmas Past, taking Scrooge on a visit to his life, so I definitely recommend checking it out. Billy Liar by Keith Waterhouse, 1959. Billy Liar is basically a story about a daydreamer who escapes his boring and mundane life by living in a fantasy world in his own head where he's the ruler of a fictional country. It's alright. There are some moments of humour and clever observations, but nothing which I'd say is laugh out loud funny, which is disappointing because I did come into it with the expectation that it would be very funny because I assumed that everyone just thought Keith Waterhouse was very funny. It's not a bad book per se, but if, like me, you want to spend your life reading the best, I'd give this one a miss. Or just watch the film. Windyridge by WIllie, 1912. Any book which describes itself as a classic on the cover immediately makes me suspicious, so I came into this with high expectations, and I was not disappointed. In fact, I was quite taken by surprise by it. Unlike most authors who just wanted to write a story, Windyridge came about as a series of short pieces which Riley read out to his wife and recently bereaved friends to cheer them up. And that's what makes this book so interesting. It was designed to entertain and to help people escape from whatever they were going through in their life. And that's what's so brilliant about this book. It's a very gentle and charming story about a woman who opens up a photography studio in a Yorkshire village. It's very well written, it's deceptively moving at times, but it has this gentleness and this warmth which is so difficult to find in a lot of books. For a book which I'd never even heard of before, I was really surprised by it, definitely enjoyed it. It's criminally underrated and you should read it. A Kestral for a Knave by Hines, 1963. This is the book version of the famous film Kes, which I talked about in my top 10 Yorkshire films video, so you should watch that. Barry Hines also wrote Threads, which I also talked about in that video, so he's one of those authors which really gets around quite a bit. So, Kes, the book. The good thing is that it's very, very similar to the film, so you're able to easily visualise what's going on by remembering the scenes from the film. However, this meant that the film and the book began to blend in for me, and I wasn't sure the extent to which my opinion of the book was influenced by my opinion of the film, and I found it quite hard to separate the two, so I kind of wish that I read the book before I watched the film. But anyway, it's an enjoyable book, it's well written. There's not much I can say which is different to what I said about the film. It's a gritty, excellent description of life in 1960s South Yorkshire and the opportunities available to young people at the time. Perhaps my only criticism is written in a very descriptive style, which some people might enjoy, but I found difficult to keep up with at times. But other than that, it's a great book. This Sporting Life by David Storey, 1963. Like Kes, this is more famously known as a film of the same name, which I also covered in that film's video, about a rugby league player in West Yorkshire. But let me be clear, you don't need to enjoy the sport to enjoy the book. because it's not really about rugby. It's about class, masculinity and self-expression. It's a deceptively complex and prescient book which deals with things you wouldn't think people were wanting to talk about in 1963. If you love social commentary or books which reflect how people lived at a certain time, then this is the book for you. However, it can be difficult to read at times because the protagonist isn't exactly a sympathetic hero. In fact, he does a lot of things which are quite unpleasant, and this can be a challenge for some people. However, some of the best books are ones in which we shouldn't like the protagonist, like American Psycho, because by being forced to follow their lives and see their thoughts, we're challenged ourselves and we get a better understanding of who they are and why they do the things they do. So I quite enjoyed it, and you might too. There Is a Happy Land by Keith Waterhouse, 1957. I was bitterly disappointed by Billy Liar, so I was really hoping Waterhouse would redeem himself with this one. And he doesn't. This book is about growing up on a council estate in the north in the 1930s, and even though it's about a time which was very different to mine, I can still relate to it in a lot of ways. Waterhouse captures perfectly that sense of humour you have when you're younger, and it's a bit like Forrest Gump in that there's a lot of subtext which the reader needs to work out for themselves because the narrator isn't old enough to understand. However, what really lets the book down is a lack of a clear overarching narrative. It just feels like a collection of random things that happened whilst playing out. The ending is anticlimactic and you feel generally unsatisfied just reading it. I was recommended this book by someone who said it changed their life, but I was bitterly disappointed by it. So there's no point bothering with this one. It's not going to do anything to you. And finally, we have Savile by David Storey, 1976. Yes, it's another David Storey book, but let me tell you, out of all the books I read, this took me most by surprise, because I had never even heard of it before. I thought it was just going to be average, but this was really enjoyable. And in this video, there's been a trio of books based around the same themes: Kes, There Is a Happy Land, Savile. This was the best out of them all. Even better than Kes. That's probably quite blasphemous to say to some people, but this is a better book in my eyes than Kes. Granted, it's a lot bigger, so it does have more room to delve into the themes such as death, relationships, education, class, work, etc. But when it does it so much more powerfully and effectively. And what's great is that this book starts at the moment of the protagonist's birth and follows their life right up until they become an adult, so you really feel like you've grown up with this character. To say that it's a book which I'd never heard of and has no presence in the cultural consciousness compared to, say, Kes, this really took me by surprise, and it has some really hauntingly beautiful bits of prose in it, so I'd highly recommend checking it out. So there you have it, 14 Yorkshire novels read and reviewed just for you. Hopefully there's been at least one in this video which sounds interesting, so it would make my day if you went to your local library or your local bookshop, had a look and just thought, I'm going to read something a little bit different today. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon.